2, 1, record.
Excuse me. Okay, I'm good. And we are live.
All right, fantastic. Oh gosh, man, what a day. Yeah, so I know I mentioned like 2 episodes ago that it's summer now and we were talking about summer. And now it's September 1st, and I immediately have to say, well, summer's over. It was fun.
It's funny because today at work was my last summer day. Like we're done with our summer season now, so I actually don't have work tomorrow. And I got a long weekend with Labor Day and stuff, which is nice. I have to do some office stuff, but I'm so excited that summer's over because our summer season is I don't have a very good time during our summer season. So, but I understand everybody else is kind of like, oh, it's over. It's going to be, we're getting into pumpkin spice season and Halloween, and that's all nice. It gets a little cool out, but inevitably snow is around the corner, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. As much as I love I don't mind the fall. I don't think anyone hates the fall. The issue with the fall is that the fall is not a real season. Fall is 2 weeks in between summer and winter.
I mean, it depends. You're right. It can be really bad sometimes, but sometimes we have a nice fall season. But I mean, this summer has been brutal, and my concern is it's just going to go straight from hot to, like you said, a couple weeks of, oh, this is kind of nice, and then we're like, this sucks. And then we're just waiting for spring again. But, that's life living in New York, I guess.
It's going to get dark at 3 p.m.
That's literally my least favorite thing. I was just talking to my sister, right? I'm pretty sure they passed something that said they're getting rid of our time changes, but it doesn't happen till next year.
Oh, I didn't know if it actually went through.
I did. From what I saw, it was, oh my gosh, I told everybody at work, it was one of the first things in years that was unanimous between Republicans and Democrats. And I was like, hey, look, we can agree on something. We hate when it's 3:30 and it's dark out. At least we can agree on one thing. So
yeah, no, they got to keep us medicated. There's no way that they're letting that slide. Pump them with the happy pills. Come on. Yeah. So, Josh, I had to do this to you live on air.
Okay.
We usually every time before we get on here, we'll do a little pep talk of what we're going to talk about, right?
Sure.
But I have to.
Hey, what episode is this, by the way? I want to start keeping track. What number are we on? Do you know?
I give a number every title.
Title? Can we have it? This is episode number 44. It looks like, dude. All right, now
that's
you can
right.
Continue. Go
ahead. But yeah, no. So we usually do a little pep talk before every episode of just what we're going to talk about, a little bit of structure to our lives. And I had to spring this on you live. I was not going to tell you about this. Oh, no. But I have a surprise announcement to make.
Oh, no. I'm so nervous.
Yo, you should be.
This is why I like our pep talk. I can be prepared. All right. This is a live reaction. Go ahead.
I was not going to tell you about this ahead of time. So, okay. Folks, I am happy to let everyone know that we are now live on Patreon.
Dude, I thought you were about to tell me that Marissa was pregnant and you were having a kid or something, and I was going to freak out. So, okay.
Could you imagine if I told you that right on the podcast live? No, we want. Well, now you just no. We have a Patreon account. Woohoo!
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to let everyone know. By the time everyone's probably listening to this, it's going to be live. I'm going to try to post this episode on the Patreon. So essentially what we're going to do is we have 4 tiers, but in reality we have 2 tiers. So I'm just going to say for $2 a month, you can get your name shouted out at the end of the show, like a little bit of credits. So I'll shout out everyone's name who subscribes as a Patreon for the $2 a month tier. You guys can make your name funny. You can pretty much say whatever. We'll have to read it, except for,
Yeah. Tread lightly with that one, but okay.
But yeah, you can make a funny Patreon name, and we'll have to read it at the end of the show, or just your own name. And you'll also be able to get early access. So through the Patreon app, I'm going to be posting the episodes early as soon as they're edited. So you can get these episodes about 1 to 2 days early, usually, depending. So, and that's all just for $2 a month, folks. You could be a producer of the show for $2 a month. And for $3 a month, you can get an invite to our Discord server with all the other stuff I just listed. The shout out, early access, and Discord server for just $3 a month, folks. So yeah, go check out our Patreon. We're going to be posting a lot of fun stuff on there. Maybe I'll do a little bit of bonus content. But what I really wanted to tell you about, Josh, was the now with Patreon, you can set a goal. I don't know if you've ever seen this on someone's Patreon.
I don't know if I have seen a goal actually for Patreon.
So yeah, so if you go on some people's Patreon pages, you can set a goal. Say, I want to reach this amount of money. And you can say for your patrons, once I reach this amount of money, this is what's going to happen.
I'll show you my nipples. Got it. Okay, keep going.
So I set a goal. Pretty it's nothing crazy, but it's definitely going to take a while. But I set a goal for $300 a month.
Okay.
And that's, kind of a lot. But I just wanted to set our first goal for $300 a month on Patreon. If we get that, if we reach $300 a month on Patreon, here's what this is going to do.
What do you need me to do?
So so we're going to, it's going to do a couple of things. So one, we're going to create a $5 tier where we're actually going to have bonus content, and me and Marissa will do a bonus episode bi-weekly. So
cool.
That'll create a $5 tier. I was thinking about doing that initially, but I need at least $300 a month, guys, to make sure that content is going to be worth it. So you'll get a nice little extra episode with me and Marissa, and then some bonus content here and there. We'll do more bonus content for a $5 tier if we reach that goal. Second, we are going to do commentary tracks and videos. I will produce the videos, but we're going to do reaction commentary tracks to 3 items. All the boys are going to have to do it, and they don't have a choice. We are going to do a commentary track for Dragon Ball Evolutions, the movie from 2009.
Oh, God, okay.
and we have to be drunk for it, too.
Oh, easy, okay.
So we're going to record ourselves. We're going to do a commentary track, and I will release a highlight video of our reactions to the patrons. We will also be doing the Super Mario Brothers movie from 1993.
Oh my God.
So that's a live action movie. Sorry if anyone wanted this. For $500, we'll do the Chris Pratt one that's coming out. No. And then the last thing that we'll have to do a commentary track for, something that I've never seen before, and I'm sure you haven't. Maybe Gene has, because he's a sick son of a bitch. The famous porno, 2 Girls, 1 Cup. We will have to drunkenly... Come on. For $300. Oh, here we go, folks. Here we go. Make Josh watch 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
I've got one question. Can some sick person decide that they just want to, are there only options 2 or 3 a month? Right? Like, some sick person can't just decide they want to do $150 a month just to make my life miserable, right?
Funny you asked. So there is I did make 4 tiers. So you can get all of the benefits I just listed. You could do a $10 a month special thanks tier. And we will really appreciate you. And you will be shouted out exclusively as an executive producer.
I feel like we can send those people individualized videos. And if they want to see my nipples, I'll show my nipples,
Sure. Look, once we get past the first threshold of $300, I will be willing to say, okay, we have a big enough listenership. I can start doing bonus content. I don't want to start doing bonus content if we're not going to have enough patrons.
Sure.
It's just too much of a commitment, but definitely will if we get to that goal. Or you can also, if you got a little extra change, mommy and daddy give you a little silver spoon, you got the extra income, you can give us $15 a month, and we will really, really appreciate you. And you will also get those benefits, and you will be a super executive producer. So if you are out there and you are just dying to give us $15 a month, we will really appreciate it, and it will just get you one step closer to making Josh watch Two Girls, One Cup with the boys.
Oh my god,
I've never
made
watched it
it
either.
this. I've made it this far in my life that I'm really hoping I don't have to watch that.
Because poop like is the one thing that grosses me out, and I've never.
I mean, I've had people describe it in detail, but it's just one of those things where I've never seen it, and I know seeing it will take somebody telling me all about it. It's just going to take it to a whole nother level. I don't want to do that. So,
Well, 300
feel
bucks a month
free
will do
to
it.
listen and just enjoy yourselves. You don't need to make us, I never thought I'd try to talk ourselves out of not subscribing to our Patreon, but here I am. I was not aware of these goals. To all of our listeners, Dan decided to come up with this on his own with no collaboration here. So here we are.
We can set more. We can set more, folks. But I was sitting there and I said, okay, Dragon Ball Evolutions, bad movies, Super Mario Brothers. That would be fun to do a commentary track for, and I'll make a little highlight video so it's not like just a commentary track of us like reacting.
I feel like as we get closer to that number, I want to put out a vote, and our patrons can decide. Do you really want to see that, or would you rather have me start an OnlyFans? That and yeah, I mean, I'd rather do that, quite honestly. So
you'd rather do an OnlyFans than watch Two Girls, One Cup?
Yeah, dude, I'm ready. I'm ready, dude.
Folks.
I'm ready, dude. I've been good. Listen, dude, I only missed the gym.
He's trying to get out of this.
I only had 6 or 7 days off this month for the gym. I was consistent, dude. Okay. So we're going to keep hitting the gym here, dude. We're going to be ripped. We're going to be ready to go. I'm going to start an OnlyFans. It's going to be just on a whole nother, like, you will never have seen an OnlyFans like the one that I'm going to make. Okay. Nobody. Like, I will provide so much value, right? Like, I'm just all about bang for my buck. And that's not a euphemism, but it kind of is. And yes, so it's going to be fantastic. So I'm ready.
I think you would be great on OnlyFans. But now that you've already just said that you don't want to do it, you know how the Streisand effect works. Folks, let's make Josh. Let's get to that goal. $300. Let's make him watch that Two Girls, One Cup.
God. But, okay, moving on.
Anyway, so, Josh, there is a lot of shit going on in America. I really think we've just reached the end. Now Missouri doesn't have any water. Apparently China is facing one of the worst heat waves ever. So yeah, climate change might kill us. Russia might kill us. China's probably going to kill us. So
what happened to monkeypox? Is that gone?
It's not gaining any traction. It's getting kicked from the box office.
Dang, dude. Rip monkeypox, dude.
They're trying with monkeypox. Be afraid, but no. Now it's all about now it's just we're basically just reverting back to a third world country. I can go bounty hunt people that are trying to get abortions, and there's now going to be a water crisis in America. Apparently, there's this big lake in Colorado, I think, that's drying up, and now they're saying we're probably going to have like a water crisis in a few. Not in the near future.
Dan, I am an American, okay? All I care about is myself, okay? And I care about two things. Gas prices are going down, which is fantastic, okay? But number two, I still can't afford a house, okay? Now, I understand some people might not have water and their houses are burning down because fires are starting. Boo hoo hoo. I can't afford a house, though, and that's all that matters, okay?
Of course. Now I am going to care about.
But before I let you get into that, did you hear actually locally? It's so dry where we live. I was just told by my mom and my sister that on the other side of the river, the Hudson River here, there is apparently like 100-acre fire from like a lightning strike. It was like so dry and like one of these fields. I haven't heard about it, but it's where I work. Yeah, I had no idea that there's actually like, you hear about fires and I think like California or Arizona. I think of the West Coast where it's really dry. It's so dry, even where we are in New York, that a lightning strike somehow causes fire. So to put aside my ridiculousness, no, I'm not just. I mean, a lot of us as
Oh, you were
Americans are
joking.
just.
Oh, of course.
I was joking, yes, but it's like, what it shows me is like, yeah, honestly, on a day-to-day basis, those are really the two biggest things I think about is where's gas at? I drive by a bunch of gas stations every day to go to work. I'm constantly looking at gas prices, and I'm currently living at home with my parents, and I don't want to be. I want to be able to afford a house and be able to buy a house, and I can't. So it's like, those are always the things that I'm focused on. But in reality, we got people who are, in China, or it's like, dude, yeah, this summer, it's kind of scary. Like, whether or not you believe in climate change or not, like, it's not been raining a lot, and some people are really struggling because of that.
Yeah, I think I actually got that fact wrong too. It's actually Jackson, Mississippi, where the water like failed. The water system failed. I don't know. Missouri, Mississippi, they're all the fucking same to me. Can we just be honest here? Are they really different? Are they really different states? Like, are they? It's all the dirty South. Who cares? Actually,
I don't know if I could point to them on our map. Quite honestly, I'm pretty geographically challenged. So.
But no, yeah, I think you got a point there. Honestly, I know you say, but sometimes I think with the news and how like they're just whipping our attention from one tragedy to the next every other day, I think it is sometimes important to just what's actually affecting your actual life. I get caught up in that where like you're just on the internet so much, watching news stories, seeing all these things come out, and I'm like, how is any of this affecting my day-to-day life? What do I care at a certain point? Yeah. I mean, they get so crazy, but that's actually goes into this next story because everyone on the internet has been very mad, Josh, about Miss Sydney Sweeney, the new breakout star from Euphoria, who has just been all over the internet. Now,
what are
I know
they mad about?
So now I know you haven't. Just a quick background on Sydney Sweeney. So I know you haven't watched Euphoria, but she was the breakout star.
What is Euphoria? Yeah, what is that?
Euphoria is a very popular HBO show starring Zendaya on HBO. It's a show that I really like. I think it's really good. But yeah, so she was basically, it was a very popular show.
It's an American teen drama? You're really into American teen drama?
Josh, you just got to watch it. You got to. But so anyway, so here's the point. The point is that Sydney Sweeney was the big breakout star from this show. It wasn't really Zendaya. She's the one that's becoming like, and she's like, got big from this show. Zendaya was already famous from Spider-Man and stuff. But so now Sydney Sweeney is this huge Hollywood actress now. She's going to be blowing up everywhere. And there are two main reasons why she is so popular. It's because of her big tits, her big milkers, her enormous milkers.
I would have never thought.
So huge.
I thought it was just she looked really nice. She looks like she's got a great personality.
Folks, how do you think, Josh? How quick? All right, I'm just gonna make Josh's day. Do you know how many sex scenes she has on Euphoria?
Oh, so that's why you watch it. Got it. Okay, makes sense.
Well, that's why. Oh, dude, I mean, it's basically, it's like to the point where like Game of Thrones, like, how you could basically like Pornhub has upload scenes from Game of Thrones because it's basically porn. Same thing with Euphoria. I mean, this girl gets, oh man, it's basically porn.
I have to watch this show.
The Reddit, like, there are about 30,000 Reddit pages dedicated to Sydney Sweeney. And there is a my God, you can find websites that you would have been thought were funded by military researchers just trying to prove that her tits are real. Apparently her tits are real. Like,
so you're telling me like this is like a no holds, like this is HBO, like there's no, I don't even know how to phrase it. Like they don't try to even be decent about it at all. It's just like,
no, it's always been this. It's actually gotten them in a lot of controversy because basically it's in the show, they're supposed to be in high school, even though it's laughable that they're clearly none of them are high school age. Sydney Sweeney's probably like our age, but yeah, there's a lot of sex, a lot of nudity. It's all like a lot of there's a whole controversy around it, but Sydney Sweeney actually has been coming under a lot of different controversies because she's come out with articles saying, oh well, like I want to be taken more seriously as an actress, and no one takes me seriously just because I always get naked in these things. And it's like, look, I get it, but do you want, and I don't want to sound like, look, actors and actresses, man, they go through shit. They can, like, you could be at the top. It's lonely at the top. But, like,
yes.
Do you know how many girls are out there pimping and slaying on OnlyFans and they don't have a huge hit show? Like, if you're going to be doing this and show, like, you are part of a huge cultural movement. Anyway, so I didn't have any. But anyway, to get to the main point, people are mad about her right now on the internet because she posted some Instagram photos of her mom's birthday party or something, and some people were wearing MAGA hats. Or they were like wearing MAGA like spoof hats, and one guy had like a Blue Lives Matter shirt on, and everyone's freaking out, and the articles start flying of the internet's mad at Sydney Sweeney for her family maybe being Trump. Like, why would, holy shit, what does any of this matter? I don't know. But
so what exactly? So the controversy is literally just around that she was with some other people. Like, were they relatives?
Her family.
Like her family. So okay, that had MAGA hats, and so there are people.
They were like MAGA.
That's literally it.
That's so basically saying, "Oh my God, your family's MAGA," like, and that might not even be the case.
Bro, I just can't understand. It's funny that you bring this up because I actually had kind of a conversation like this at work today. We had a kid in our camp. We've been running summer camp over the summer, and he is he? I don't even think he's 10. He's like 9. He might be 10. He is a genius. He's gonna he's gonna go like, so he already, you can just ask him anything about a president, right? You can just be like, who's the 21st president? He can tell you. I asked him when one of their birthdays was. He was 2 days off. It was like May 27th, 19th, and it was May 29th. I was like, dude, like, this kid's insane, right? So now he's 10, so he hasn't learned yet. Like, he's got all these facts memorized. Like, he's so, like, he could tell you like what political party they were, their birthday. He can give you their whole full name.
Trump
he knows
is my president.
He knows every middle name of every president, right?
God, stop the steal.
But he hasn't learned how basically talking about politics can get you in trouble, or I shouldn't say get you in trouble, but kind of, right? Or like be controversial or make people right. Like, really is. So he literally said today, or it was yesterday, and he was like showing me this, and he was like blowing my mind. And I was asking him questions, and then I stopped asking him questions because I was just like, I can't even handle this anymore. And then he just kind of came out and started like telling me his opinions. And he's like, oh yeah, Joe Biden's like the worst president. And I started laughing so hard, Dan. I couldn't help it. And I was just like, okay, we're just gonna stop that, right?
Do you know only 6,000 Jews died? What?
But I ended up talking with some coworkers, and it's so sad how literally just saying something like that can literally get somebody to, right? Like, it's just, yeah, I just can't understand how it's gotten to the point. I don't think when our parents were growing up, it's always going to be a controversial thing. It'll always be a point to debate or argue, but like, we've gone so past that. And if you wear merch, like, forget the MAGA hats, because that's one thing, right? And I've seen like stand-up bits that I think are hilarious. Like, dude, no other president can sell merch like Donald Trump could. And I'm like, dude, that's true, but it's kind of hilarious. Not to say that shows anything on how good of a president you are, but nobody sold merch like Donald J. Trump. But It's just like if people walk around now with a Democratic shirt or a Republican shirt, right? Like just said like I voted Republican or I voted Democrats, like people having their gay pride like flags and stuff. It's just like people just find one thing that they don't like, and it just all of a sudden the masses of a certain side will come out and just be like, this person's terrible, this person's a bad representation. And it's so, I don't know what else to say other than it's just so sad. And it's like, listen, if go ahead, I'm just rambling.
It's also just like, who is yes, political philosopher Sydney Sweeney has abandoned us. Like, and oh my god, her boomer parents may.
It's not even her, right? It's her relatives. Like, dude,
just because, and they didn't even wear a MAGA hat. They wore like a make 70 great again, like their age, like a red cap, and it was like poison. It just goes to show too, like Hollywood, how soulless and just like you need to be on the right team. And by the way, if I was Sydney Sweeney, you know what I would do responding to that? She responded and was like, guys, this is insane. I can't believe this is like becoming a thing. Like that I would be like, yeah, I'm fucking MAGA. And you know what? If you want to see my tits again, you need to send me a video voting for Donald Trump. Like she goes to Trump rallies like with nipple tassels. Like I would go so square. It's like how many people would abandon their beliefs right away to be like, I'm going with the tits. I mean, like what? Like who cares? I'd go scorched earth if I was her. I'd go right. Oh yeah, MAGA. Yeah, he's the real president. I would be like, guys, he's the real president, right? Like just go into it. I would at that point. I mean, but it is crazy. Like I get it. It's like what? Who cares? Who cares what anyone's like? I don't know. Political beliefs are or anything like that. Like she's an actress. Like.
Okay, so like let me say this too, because like I have voted both ways, right? I've voted Democratic before, I have voted Republican before, both for like local small elections and bigger elections as well. We both live in New York, which is I can't remember the last time at least a presidential election went not Democratic. I think it was back in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah,
not actually that long, but it's definitely been some time. So obviously before you go to any voting booth, you normally know who you're going to vote for. I think it's safe to say most people don't show up going, not really sure. It's like, no, you've already done your research.
Look at the ballot.
Yeah, you already know what you're doing. You don't just go, and then just close your eyes and move your pen and I picked this one.
I'm so gonna walk out of the booth like with my ballot and just be like, I'm sorry, I'm taking so long. I just can't decide. Like, you're the one guy.
But I can safely say when I go in to my local voting place and I know that I was going to vote for a Democratic Party, I feel in New York like I'm a good guy. Okay? I feel like I'm doing the right thing. When I go in to the same place with the same people voting red, voting Republican, I feel like they're looking into my soul and they want to eat me. And they just want like it's I can't even explain. It just feels like I don't know. And it's like, I mean, they obviously have no idea, but it's just like, I feel like I've been tailored to have this mentality that because of where I live and who I'm mostly surrounded by, other than my parents who are conservative, most of my friends, most of the people I've grown up with are more left-leaning. They're more liberal, more democratic. And so it's like, I have been told that Republicans and the conservatives are the devil. They're the bad side. And so it's so hard for me sometimes to like take a step back and try to have a middle ground and a neutral attitude because and I'm also saying it goes both ways. If you live in Idaho, right, I'm sure it's just the opposite, where if you're trying to stay in the middle and be neutral and try to be receptive of all of these different viewpoints, you are going to be surrounded by potato lovers who are just like, Donald Trump is the best, like, you know what so and it's like if they're not
gonna have water soon anyway, so they don't matter.
So it's just sad on how drastic and important it is. And it's just like that. There's no conversation anymore. It's either you're on this side or you're on this side. And I don't care what you have to say. Do you label yourself as this or that? Because if you label yourself as this, I don't want to talk to you. You're no good. I think you're disgusting. But if you're over here, great, we can be friends. And it's just like, dude, like we can't have a conversation anymore about like, oh, I agree with this and I agree with this, but I kind of like I don't know. It's ridiculous. This just goes to show once again, and it's just like it's a mix of social media and the internet, and it's just internet culture just blowing up and just picking one thing and trying to cancel and destroy someone. And it's just, I don't know. I'm over it. This is literally all we do anymore in our society is look at celebrities and look at these big things, find one thing, yell at them about it, put our post on Instagram and pretend like people care what we have to say. And I'm just sick of it.
I think the most where I come out from it, having a real strong opinion of it, of everything you just said, is I think we have a very unhealthy relationship with celebrity worship in this country. And I'm just like, so it's like, who cares what I get there's influence. I get there's, cause Sydney Sweeney has been accused of giving the whole, like, she's a bad, a bad image for young girls, with their figure and stuff like that, which I can kind of get, but again, I don't, how much do I
hold on? Let's pause. Explain that to me. What? Here's what frustrates me.
I don't want to get into.
No, because I need to get into this because listen. You should never. Okay. I need to be careful because
Queen.
Because the more I've thought about this, the more I'm starting to get annoyed about it. Right. This whole fat shaming thing. I never want to make somebody feel bad, and I don't think other people should too, because of how somebody looks. Right. Now,
right.
But at the end of the day, But at the end of the day, right, if you are overweight or obese and it's just this whole I'm just going to accept who I am. Like, no, I'm technically overweight and I want to lose weight. Now, if somebody comes up and calls me fat, it doesn't make me feel good. Are they wrong? No. Should I let it deteriorate and destroy my insides? Is it right for them to do that? I'm not saying that, but I'm tired of us saying, oh, just accept who you are. You're beautiful how you are. It's like, no, I'm overweight. I'm not healthy. I want to get better. Now, on the flip side, somebody like Sydney Sweeney, is she I'm asking you because I don't know. Is she so skinny that you think we were talking about eating disorders, or is she just a very attractive, good-looking girl, but we're saying, oh, it's, you know what I mean? Are we going too far off the deep end on one side, or is she just a young, attractive girl, but it makes other people who are more overweight uncomfortable because she's not overweight? Or does it look like there's an eating disorder, I guess?
I guess where I come down to, well, no. So the whole thing is partially, she has a very thin waist and she has such large breasts that it's I guess she's natural, but there's been this controversy.
Some people are just blessed with genes, okay?
Sure, sure.
I was not blessed with genes.
Here's because I've always given a lot of thought to this, because part of me is, because Marissa and I actually had this conversation, and Marissa was like, yeah, it's a bad image, these small waist that's coming back, from the early 2000s. She had a lot to say about it. And I said, and I get it, because I'm sympathetic on the other side. You flip that with men and body expectations and stuff in Hollywood. I totally am sympathetic to that. But where I come down to is, so Sydney Sweeney, can I get mad at her? She's playing the game of Hollywood. She is not she got to be a big star from Euphoria, from having big tits and having sex in scenes. And
what should they do? Fire her because she's still she's got a small waist? And what is she supposed to do?
I'm right. So I'm saying you're playing, you're not going to change the game. You're not going to change society. You're not going to. So it's if I'm in Hollywood, you kind of got to take those opportunities. If you have, if you're willing to do it, which most people in Hollywood are, to sell their morals, to be I'm gonna, which again, I'm not saying it's not moralistic or anything, but oh, okay, I'm going to use my body and I'm going to get this role. I'm going to become a huge, it's you're playing the game. And then maybe I could advance. I mean, that's what I don't understand. Like, oh, like, why would anyone take me seriously as an actress? You're on this huge show, Euphoria. You can change your image. You can get a role. Like, you can get a role. You can become a serious actress. You can do that. You can make that transition. You have that opportunity and that clout that 90% of actresses do not have. How many people get naked and do sex scenes in shit movies and horror movies that no one's ever going to get any traction from career-wise? So that's where I fall on that. But to what you were talking about with, like, can you blame the celebrity of just playing the game of like, listen, this is what I have to do? Because I'm sympathetic on like flipping it to the men's side of thing, where it's like you see all like every Marvel hero is like super ripped. Everyone's like, just, there was that story about Top Gun when they showed like the shirtless scene. They like, guys were literally like doing push-ups. The fact that The Rock is not admitting that he's on steroids is a fucking joke. But I don't really blame the people that are just playing the game and it's like, this is what we have to do. It's all fake. All of it's fake. There was a big story that I really appreciated about Sebastian Stan, the guy who plays the Winter Soldier. He recently played Tommy Lee on this Hulu show that was really good, Pam and Tommy, and he had to lose a shit ton of weight to look like Tommy Lee. And he had this whole story coming out where it's like, like there is a big push in Hollywood. Like, I never thought like I was thin enough. I became like, I had the body image issues, and so that's a big thing on, on both sides of male and female. And I'm sympathetic to it. But I guess where I blame is more just society of like, when I go to these movies, when I watch movies of all these ripped people, these beautiful, hot people on all these TV shows and everything, I understand that that's not real life. I understand that these are not like real people, like they're Barbie dolls, they're made up, they're fake. Like these are like the top 2% of gene pools that are getting put on display in these big movies and TV. But there are people that don't have any fucking brain cells that they think, oh, that's how everyone should look. Like these probably more younger, impressionable people. But yeah, it's like, that's where I land. It's like, don't be stupid. Just at least acknowledge that, okay, these people are all fake, or they're all just clearly on steroids, or this is like the top 2% of people. This is not how people really look, I guess, is where I come down on it. Sorry, that was a long binge.
There, no, but like, I mean, you're right. And I mean, but it's just like, I feel like it comes down to just natural instinct. Like, what are girls and guys attracted to? Are we normally attracted to large, overweight people? Some people, yes, but I think most of the time, right? It's like, and there's been the whole trend with like girls, like, oh, girls are into dad bods, and it's like, I don't know how true that is. I think, whatever. I don't think girls necessarily want a guy that's like so ripped and into himself and spends all his time at the gym. I think that's part of the unattractiveness of these like guys who are actually like ripped and in shape, is like they've got such an ego that's unattractive. So that's fair. But it's just like, as guys, like, we're an advanced society at this point. We know what we want, we know what we're into, and it's small waisted, big busts. Like it is what it is. Is it unattainable for a lot of people? Absolutely. But like, I guess where I kind of got off on a tangent is like, I'm fed up.
You just don't like Lizzo. You should be 600 pounds and be proud.
Like, yeah, I just get fed up with people telling me, oh, just like love yourself for the way you are. I think you should always love yourself. I think you should always, but I also believe I also believe if you truly love yourself, you're always going to be improving yourself. So if you ever say like, oh, I'm a 10, I'm perfect, there's no room for improvement, you're delusional. There's always room.
And you're just probably a bitch.
Probably, or a dick, right? Like, so like, will I ever look like Chris Hemsworth? Probably not. But it can be something I can work towards to get myself healthy, and I'd love to see how close I could get. But I also know he literally spends, before he shoots a movie for Thor, he spends every waking moment, before every scene, he's like pumping himself up, right? Like, you are just never naturally just that flooded in your chest and your arms.
And he's on steroids.
100. I don't want to say 100%.
I'm sorry.
More than likely, yes. And like,
I'm not trying to like say everyone that's more ripped than me is on steroids. No. He's on steroids.
But I saw Zac Efron even like talk about like when he did I didn't see that new movie, but when he was with The Rock and did like the new Baywatch, that they would like, before they do scenes, they're literally just like lifting weights, right? Like doing crunches, like literally activating every muscle in their body to flood it with blood, basically. So they looked more rip and stuff. And it's just like, and then you just see them walking and you're like, oh, they just look like that all the time. It's like, no, dude, they literally like, have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror after you do a workout?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, dude. And then it's like 25 minutes later, you lose that pump and you're like, oh, okay, wait, I don't look as big as I just did. It's like that's what they're doing. So I agree. And I feel awful for anybody who, boy or girl, man or woman, who allows these Hollywood actors and actresses or just the internet in general to get to you and think like that's real life. Cause that's a real person, but you have no idea necessarily if there was Photoshop involved, if they're on steroids. I mean, they could have literally spent every waking moment for the last 365 days to look like that as well. And do you want to do that to look like that? Probably not. Like that's what I hear all the time is to look that ripped. You are so unhappy to get there. You can attain it for a little bit, but like to live on a daily basis to look like that, it's impossible to be happy.
And let's be honest, the people that are the most ripped and the most jacked, guy or girl, or the most in shape, people I see people like this in my local gym that are there every day, and they're the most ripped looking people ever. They are the dumbest population we have in America. Truly. Can we just be honest? They are not bright people. They're very not bright. If you're good at sports and you're very athletic, you're made to do one thing, and that is use your body. These people don't know how to read. They're not interesting people. You talk to them, they're like, duh, lift up and put down.
You're talking about the people who have literally made the gym part of their personality, right?
And they are not people. They are machines. They're beautiful, but there's nothing upstairs. They know how to put them up, lift it up, and
Do you just look at those people and go, do you have a job? Like, do you go to work? Because there are some people, I go to the gym early in the morning.
Bro, I'll get up. Stations, I swear.
Dude, I don't understand. Because I will go to the gym before work, and I'll get there at like, depends on the day, but I could get there at like as early as like 6:50, 6:45. And I get to the gym, and sometimes I have to leave early, right? Because I have work at 8:30. So I have to get to the locker room and start showering by like 7:45, 8 o'clock. But other days I'm able to be there for like 2 hours, and I will get there and I will leave. And there are two guys sometimes, and they are still there. I'm like, dude, it is a Tuesday. I saw you yesterday. I'm like, do you work? You're like, what are we doing here? Like, you need to leave. You need to go home. The gym is not like, you don't sleep. Go away. It's just, I don't understand.
I can tell you exactly why. It's because they're fucking 35 years old and they're still in high school. They couldn't pass reading.
They're young. No, that's the thing. They're either my age, I'm 30.
They can do a million push-ups, but they cannot get past Catcher in the Rye. They keep failing. They just cannot write that essay. They can do planks for 45 minutes straight, but they cannot tell you anything that 10-year-old could tell you about the presidents.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly. But in other good news, just quick, I'm very excited. I finally have spoken to my gym crush. I got to hold the door for her this morning, and it's a start. This is the start. Hey, you guys, your listeners, you're all hearing the start of my amazing love story. Okay, so take notes. You're gonna see this in movies later down the road.
Wait, this is at your gym? You've been going back to the gym. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to divulge too much information, but I got to hold the door for her this morning. I was like walking to the door, And I heard a noise and I like glanced back. I was like, oh my God, she's right behind me. I have to hold the door for her. And so I had to like slow down because I was like that awkward distance where it's like, if I hold the door for her, it's good. she's gonna have that awkward like shuffle to like get there faster, right? Because she's like, oh, somebody's holding the. So I like had to like slow down my walk so she could get closer. And then I was just like, oh, here you go. She was like, thank you. I was like, you're welcome. And it's just the start of our love story. So, you know.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Oh my God. You're like, and you're like, you all of a sudden you're like, you freak out and you just think of that 10-year-old. Did you know Andrew? Did you know George Washington's birthday? Oh, fuck.
Oh no, you weren't gonna say Andrew Tate, were you?
No,
that's gonna kill it so fast.
I'm not even going down that rabbit hole today. Fuck that. But no, anyway, it was funny because I was thinking about that Sydney Sweeney story and like just all that, like, you know, just the influence of being like a young star and you're up and coming, and you know, so much of it goes so well for young actors, you know, that grow up on shows. I mean, Sydney Sweeney, she's not like a child actor, she's older, but it was also in the news that Jeanette McCurdy, the co-star on iCarly, Sam, the blonde girl, and you remember her, right?
Yeah.
So she has been like making the rounds lately in the news because it's like, what the fuck has she been up to since then? She came out with a book called I'm Glad My Mom Died. And of course, super catchy, like attention grabbing title for a book. And it just goes into, she's been like doing all these interviews for it, the trauma she went through, the classic like child Hollywood story, you know, like her mom was very abusive when, you know, she was doing iCarly. And, you know, but what was interesting that I was, you know, watching some videos about like the book and everything. Apparently she dives deep into her relationship and career on Nickelodeon because she was also, this is a little bit past our time, she also was on a second, like, I don't know if it was a spin-off show to iCarly, but it was Victorious.
Oh, I have no
I don't know.
idea.
It was with Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande got her start on this show as an actress.
I thought Ariana Grande was on iCarly too, right?
Maybe, but this was like a show with Sam and the girl Jeanette
Disney
McCurdy,
show, yeah,
the blonde girl. It was on Nickelodeon and Ariana Grande, Victorious. I don't know. I don't care. It was past my time by that point. But anyway, so apparently she like was, you know, she talked about how like she was jealous of Ariana Grande. She got a better career. And they also kept like referring to this, she kept referring to like this person. I forget what the term she used, but basically like the boss or something she just kept referring to in the book that was so abusive and everything. And basically everyone's saying, oh, she's talking about Dan Schneider. And I don't know if you know anything about Dan Schneider and the Nickelodeon thing, but this was a huge, like, Dan Schneider, for anyone that doesn't know, is essentially the Harvey Weinstein of Nickelodeon. He was early days, Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, all that, iCarly, all that generation of child actors. Like, he was like the big producer at Nickelodeon at the time, and he was a huge abuser. He had all these accusations against him, and I don't know, I haven't looked too much into it. I don't know how, like, Nickelodeon in the early 2000s was essentially like a child trafficking rape dungeon. Of course, for all these.
That makes me sad.
But no, it was going into like, you know, all of her trauma in the past, and it made me think of like all those old child actors, you know, like where have they all ended up? Who's doing good? Who actually got like the good end of the stick coming out of that career like that we grew up with, all those shows? Because do you know what like Drake Bell is doing nowadays from Jake and Josh?
You know, how come I've seen so much of Josh on the internet, but none of Drake?
So Josh actually, he was smart. Josh is the most successful one out of anyone, Josh Peck, because he got onto social media early and he became an influencer, and he basically did videos with David Dobrik early on. Yeah. He was with David Dobrik, and he hopped on the whole, like, you know, because he has had podcasts and stuff talking about this, and I love Josh Peck. Like, if anyone made it out okay out of that era of child acting, it's Josh Peck. Like, I'm so happy. He just seems like such a transparent, awesome dude.
Yeah, I agree.
But Yeah, so but Drake Bell, and there was a whole drama between Drake and Josh. They were like never actually close and blah blah blah. Drake is like living in Mexico. He thinks he's Mexican. He thinks he's like Spanish speaking. He like comes out with Spanish music now. He like just got a charge for child endangerment, and he is wild. Like Drake Bell, it didn't turn out well for him.
Yikes! I had
And
no idea.
And then I was like thinking, like, well, what happened to like Amanda Bynes? Like, she was the one that started it all, like the Amanda Show. Remember? Didn't she like go crazy or something too?
The Amanda Show. That reminds me of Lindsay Lohan too. What happened to her?
Oh yeah, she's cracked out. But like nothing ever
so
good
sad.
happens. Nothing ever good happens to any of these child actors. Because I was just thinking, I was like, who made it out okay? Because you start looking into their stories. I even looked up the other day. I was like, I was looking on Amanda Bynes' Wikipedia page. I'm on it right now. If you go under her personal life tab, there's a whole section, mental health and substance abuse problems, and it's about 3 pages long. I mean, this is like, I mean, Amanda Bynes has been through the ringer. In 2018, Bynes stated that she has been sober for 4 years with the help of parents. She also apologized on Twitter. In October 2014, Bynes accused her father of emotional and sexual abuse in a series of tweets. I mean, yeah, these people have been all over the place. She like in 2012, Bynes was charged with driving under the influence in West Hollywood. 2 years later, charges were dropped. May 2013, Bynes was charged with reckless endangerment and marijuana possession. I mean, yeah, no, these people have like been through the fucking ringer. Honestly, the only person that I think did it right was Miranda Cosgrove, iCarly herself.
I mean, I don't know too much on. I've seen her obviously since iCarly, and she appears to be doing fine. Just literally with her appearance, she doesn't look like a crackhead or anything. But I don't know much about what she's been doing since iCarly. Honestly,
absolutely nothing. She basically, well, there was a reboot of iCarly recently for Paramount Plus, but she like I looked on her IMDb. She's done like a movie here and there, a bit like very small scale, but she has really done anything. And I follow her on Instagram for some weird reason, and she's always just like posting in Hollywood, living it up, like totally rich, probably has tons of residuals, and she's probably just like, yeah, I'll come back to acting when I want to, but I was a child star. Like, I made it out. I have tons of money. I don't need this. You know, like she probably has all the fucking money in the world, but yeah, no, I'm just like, oh, she's the one that did it right. Like Josh Peck, I think he doesn't get residuals for Drake and Josh. I think he said on something somewhere, like he doesn't get paid for it. I guess back in the day, children got the shit end of the stick, but it was just funny. I was like, oh, Miranda Cosgrove, she probably had a deal with iCarly. Like she's probably loaded. But
I mean, they're definitely the outliers, right? Like you don't see that a whole lot. Like people do well, and I don't know why I normally see it more in singers or artists. Like the two that come to mind that I don't know. I'm not very big into pop music or anything, but like obviously growing up, Justin Bieber, right? Like getting picked up by Usher or whatever the story was, right? Like, and he's definitely been through a lot. But one that an artist that I don't necessarily listen to a lot, but I kind of like looked into their story, and I do really like their music. It's much different than normally what I listen to is Juice WRLD.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, he talked in interviews, but also just in his music about what he was going through. And I feel like he knew he was going to die young. I just feel like, and it's crazy, man. It really like, I feel like such a boomer saying this, but like, you know, the older you get, the more you really realize it's like, okay, when you're younger and you're looking at people like Justin Bieber or Juice WRLD or whoever your idol is, as far as an artist, an actor, actress, whatever, you look up and you're like, oh, I can't imagine it would be so great being them. And it's like, for instance, like I might be dating myself here, but like Robin Williams, right? Like,
sure,
I can't believe how many people.
Well, that's the guy who had real talent.
Won't know who Robin Williams is, and he made so many of us laugh Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh my gosh, what a movie, right? Flubber. It's just like, and he somehow was not happy and took his own life. And it's just like, it's crazy. I don't know. I can't believe there's like not more of like scientific studies done to try to figure this out. Like because I feel like we just sum it up to like, oh, it sounds so lonely. I
It's
guess
lonely at the
it's
top, I
lonely at
think,
the
is a
top, I guess,
true.
right? Like, yeah, I
You're
really, and it's
alienated.
like, is that all it comes down to? Like, is it as simple as that? Because it might be. It really might. Because you just look at all these people and you think, oh, they're so successful. So many people love them, look up to them. But then you got this young kid, Juice World, who, I mean, did he? I feel like there was like, I don't know if he OD'd or if it was like a situation at the airport. I can't
He OD'd on a
remember
plane, I
exactly.
think.
Yeah, and I think it was because he might have like tried to like hide and take some drugs to like, so, but I mean, it's just sad. Like, on just that, how this, wait, what happened? Wait, I could make a fool out of myself right now. What
Wait,
happened with
what?
is Bob Saget still alive?
No, he died.
How did he die?
He like died in his hotel room. Like everyone did, like all the
Do
Italian
we
actors
know?
just
Do we
died.
know how?
I don't think
Was
it ever
that
came
like
out. It might have been like
incidental?
I think he got hit in the head with something, honestly, and there might
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember, but it was weird.
All right, but yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's I love Josh Peck. I think, yeah, I've seen him with David Dobrik and stuff, but like those are definitely the outliers where you don't normally see
Oh,
people do really well after they came to all this fandom, especially when they're that young, right? Like I was picking some older people with Robin Williams and stuff, but like, I
when you
mean,
get famous at such a developmental point
yeah,
in your life, that's all you
I'm
know.
shocked at this point that Justin hasn't had an utter collapse because he got picked up at such a young age and he's had some, now he's had ups and
I think
downs,
he's
don't get
already
me
there.
wrong. But
Yeah.
like, no, man, I mean, when we mean collapse, it's just like, what, like when I ask what happened to Lindsay Lohan, what happened to a lot, like they're gone, right? Like we don't even know. Like Justin still makes music, people
But
talk
sometimes that
about
might be
him.
good. They made all their money and I'm
I guess
out.
it could be. You're right. Actually, it could be. But I think in the case of Lindsay Lohan, I'm a little nervous because I think last time I saw anything in the news about her, it wasn't good stuff. But
Yeah. No, it's wild. I just it is I'm the first person to say fuck worshiping celebrities. None of these people should be worshipped the way that they are, and they, I am the first one to say fuck you. You're a millionaire. I don't feel bad for you, but at the same, like I don't feel bad that you didn't get your serious role in a movie or you got
yeah,
your role cut from. I don't feel bad about any of that with these huge stars. But I can feel sympathy for, yes, it is lonely at the top. Like when you are so famous, like Shawn Mendes just had this whole thing where he canceled his entire tour because he's like, mental health issues, and that's the whole thing. But basically, you're like, how old? You're 22 and you've accomplished everything there is to accomplish in life. Like you've done it already. You've done everything there is to do at age like 22. It must be you must get a very weird feeling, but so
yeah, me. I think actually, yeah, you bring up, that's a really good point. Actually, right? It's like a lot of my life, I've been like, okay, how can I grow? How can I get better? Where, like, career wise, like, and all these things. And man, that'd be interesting, right? Like if you look at life, I'm a nerd. So if you look at life like a video game, right? It's like, you want to get to level 100. You want to get the max level. And how do you get the max level? You need to marry, or you need to be with the best looking, the hottest looking, whoever, guy or girl, depending on whatever. You need to
sure.
make a ton of money. You need to, you need to do all this stuff. So it's like when you're at such a young age and you hit max level, does that affect you? And you just go, I've done everything at this point. Like I have everything. I mean, we could get super philosophical and religious with this conversation too, which I feel like is a lot of times what happens with a lot of these big actors and actresses is once they hit a maturity level to realize, okay, like, yeah, I've hit max level, but I also realize there's got to be more to life than just this, than just making this money and blah, 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 blah. But
Let
yeah,
me
I've never
tell you
thought
about
about it like that.
Scientology.
Oh God. Yeah.
But
So
no, yeah,
interesting.
it's interesting. I mean, again, I'm the first one to say I don't fuck. I think we worship these people way too much. But
I appreciate you and your outlook with that so much. Like nobody says it more than you, where it's just like, we need to stop putting these actors and actresses and celebrities on this pedestal that, like, because like at the end of the day, like when you meet them, you realize they're just another person. Like and for me,
it's
this is going to
disgusting.
sound pathetic, but like one of the biggest persons that I looked up to was Tim the Tat Man. And it was humbling to meet him in person and just stand next to him. And it's like, it's just so weird how your brain works when you just see somebody on a computer screen, a television screen, your phone, whatever. Then you meet them in person. You're just kind of like, oh, he's literally, or she's literally just another person. And it's cool. It's great. But it also, if you have that,
They're not a god.
right? They're standing next to me. I could punch him or hug him and he could be my best friend or whatever. It's just like, no, it's another person. And me meeting Tim kind of helped me realize that. But I also think that just comes with a level of maturity too, to kind of realize like, oh, okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah. There's people that I love too that I'm like, I'll always remember. Sorry, not to cut you off, but I always remember that conversation we had at TwitchCon, and we were like, who would you want to have like? You were like, I want to get a picture with Tim the Tat Man. I want to meet him, and I'm just like, we're like walking around outside of the convention center. I'm like, I don't think there's anyone I would want to get a picture with. I really can't think of anyone like that I'd really want to meet, like, or just. And then we walked past one of the little side booths. One of like the smaller tents, little event centers. I just saw this little promotional sign, very small off to the side.
Is it Lil Wayne? Who was it?
No, it was T-Pain.
T-Pain.
And I was a kid in the can. Right after we had that conversation, I immediately flipped because T-Pain's like not relevant anymore. So he got like shoved to this tiny little stage, like to do a little gaming thing. And I was a kid in a candy store. I was like, I want to get a picture with T-Pain. Oh my God, I'm gonna buy you a drink. I like just start screaming in the middle of the crowd, and all the nerds, like the millennials, are like just taking videos of me. I'm that guy. Like I'm trying to get auto-tune in my voice, like shutty. But anyway. Yeah, no, that was funny. Sorry, I totally interrupted you. I totally lost.
No, you're good. I mean, I remember that was a good time, and yeah, I remember my answer was literally. I mean, I don't think you realized, but you ended up realizing it was like, dude, like my person was Tim. Like, I'm not a political person. I could care less about taking pictures with any of the presidents, artists. Like, I mean, at that point had already seen like my favorite band, Our Last Night.
Sure.
I'd gotten things signed by him, but literally I never cared so much about just meeting somebody and getting a picture with than Tim. But it was also realizing like, oh, he's just a person, and it's good. And then that's why, like, when me and Jason ended up getting tickets to go to Texas to see him again, and then I realized how much it was going to cost us, I was like, I'm good. I've already done that, right? It's like I don't need to do that. I experienced that. It was cool. I'm glad I did, but it also made me realize it's not that crazy. It's another dude. It's another person. And that's fine.
Exactly.
And hey, going back to our previous conversation, I can still be friends with somebody even when they just have wrong opinions. For instance, Tim thinks that boneless wings are better than boned. And if you think that chicken nuggets are better than boned in wings, you're just wrong. Okay. But we're
gonna have to put up a poll.
And yeah, if you don't want to work for your chicken wing, if you don't want to dip it in the sauce with your hand and then eat around the bone, if that doesn't bring more enjoyment to you, just go to Mickey D's and listen. If you're in the mood for some chicken nuggets, that's fine. But look me in the eye and tell me that boned in wings are not as good as boneless, you're wrong. And that's it. So that's all I got to say about that.
That's great. Tell me about. Yeah, we'll switch gears a little bit. Tell me about what's going on in the gaming world. You had a bit of a controversy going on the gaming side of things.
Yeah, I'm sure if there's any gamers out there listening to me, I'm gonna butcher the story. But from what I've been seeing, and to give some background in case nobody knows, there's a popular streamer out there. His name's Nadeshot. Okay. and he founded a brand, a company called 100 Thieves, and they've got some esports teams out there. They have a Valorant team, an Apex team. And so Nadeshot's the founder, and he's got all sorts of people. I could throw out some names. Courage JD, who's on YouTube, Valkyrie. They're all part of the 100 Thieves company. I don't really know what to call it. I'm still a little confused about exactly what they do. But as far as I know, they bring in other content creators. They obviously give them money and help them kind of grow, but they also obviously expect a cut and a percentage in return.
Sure.
So
promotion.
this person called Froste, or streamer called Froste. Apparently he was part of a smaller group called The Mob. I don't know if that was another brand. I don't think it was. I think it was just like a bunch of streamers who just came together and decided to call themselves The Mob. Anyway,
Right.
Apparently he's like the leader of The Mob, or he's the voice at least. And I think he tweeted drunkenly one night and kind of started this whole thing. But he didn't back down on it. Like once the next day he sobered up, he just continued it. And so there's been a little Twitter battle between Nadeshot and Froste. Nadeshot's made some videos while streaming talking about the situation. Frosty's come out and said things like, oh, we had to pay for this $10,000 a house, or I'm sorry, $10,000 a month for this house because we had to be 15 minutes from the 100 Thieves main hub. And he kept specifying that their main hub is a $10 million house, right? To like show like, oh, they have all of this money, but they're not giving us any money. They're
Sure.
leeching, like they're just taking all of our funds. So he's like, we had to pay $10,000 a month to stay in this house because we had to be in a certain location. We had to be close enough. And the internet was bad. Like we didn't have a good enough internet for more than one of us to stream at a time. I don't know if there was I think it sounded like there was at least 4, if not like 5 or 6 people living in this house.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were just kind of going back and forth, and Nadeshot was basically, so if I were trying to put this in more of an understanding for people who don't play video games, Nadeshot's kind of like the boomer, where he's like, listen, I gave them an opportunity. If you want it bad enough, you need to work hard. You need to earn it. You need to prove it right. It's like that. And I'm not saying that's a wrong mentality. Honestly, when it comes to Twitch, YouTube, that is kind of my belief. It's like, dude, if you want it, you've got to grind and you've got to work and you just got to keep doing it. And then Frosty seems to have more of the mentality of what I'll categorize as like the Gen Z mentality, where he kind of feels owed. He's like, hey, you're the CEO making all this money. You deserve to pay me a fair share. And Nadeshot's basically like, listen, you signed a contract. You agreed to these terms. This is how much money I gave you. I said, this is your cut. And now you're basically whining and complaining, saying it's not fair. And they've been going back and forth. There's a lot more details in there about, like I said, living conditions, internet problems.
Sure.
Going back on stuff, like saying that like on certain deals, he's taking 95% of the cut and they're getting 5%. And I mean, a lot of what Frosty is saying is kind of hearsay because he's not really showing proof.
Right.
Because Nadeshot, like, so
is it all part of me, sorry, but like part of me is always just like, because you know what, these days it's like, well, now this is all just free press. Like, how much is it? Are they in a back room like, you know what? That's good. That's right. I am ripping you off. Let's roll with it. Like, I'll say some things. You say some things.
I've thought about it ever so slightly. I more see that to be advantageous towards Frosty, because I don't think he's as big. Because Nadeshot's literally the CEO of 100 Thieves. To be fair, Nadeshot like isn't very he used to like when Valorant first came out, which was at like the beginning of the pandemic when we were all quarantined. He was streaming a lot, and that's kind of how I found him, because he was playing with Tim and some other people, and he was cool. But like he's really kind of, from my perspective, taken on the role of being like the president, the CEO of 100 Thieves. He does not seem to stream nearly as much. I think he's much more focused on actually trying to build his company, 100 Thieves. Yeah, the business side, which is fine.
They're representing. They're like an agency.
Yeah, and so like. I see it more like Frosty trying to do, but like you're
Milk
not
it.
wrong at the end of the day. Like it's not bad for any of them because Frosty's under Nadeshot. So if Frosty starts doing better, Nadeshot does better. So it's like
You got to be cynical, man. You got to like be like,
I find it so hard to believe that people would do it. Like, listen, if it naturally happened and then you kind of realize it and you draw it out like a little bit more, fine. I have a problem if they sat down in a room and went, listen, your numbers aren't great. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to call me out on a bunch of bull, like just nonsense.
and this stuff has been, we've seen
like,
before. This stuff has been manufactured.
I have a problem with that. Now, at the end of the day, is it wrong? Is that like, whatever? Like, who cares what I think? I just think that's like, I don't know. That's so artificial and fake. And it just makes me feel like, oh, I'm just being, but I mean, that's our world today too. I don't know, dude. It just makes me quite like, because if that's happening, that makes me question the relevancy of anything that's ever happened in our world. Like
Andrew Tate wouldn't be famous if he just went on every podcast and going like, I really just love women. Like he, you know what I mean? Like that's not
right. I understand. So I mean that's about it. It's interesting. I've watched some videos about it, but at the end of the day, the videos that it's, there's Twitch and internet YouTube videos that I watch that do the news, and it's like the regular news where it's like, dude, they'll just grab onto anything that they can find. And this past week, that was the story that I saw a lot of people talking about. There's not a whole lot going on in the video game world. Things will take off probably starting in the next couple of months, because the end of this year and the beginning of 2023, as far as video games, we're stacked. I'm so excited. But yeah, but that's about all I've got for the Twitch world.
Are we gonna start seeing like streamer unions? We're a shade away there. Like we're gonna start
100%.
seeing unions.
No, I think we will. I mean, have you seen what's like? Can you tell me what's going on with Starbucks? I'm scrolling through TikTok and I'm seeing like Starbucks unions and walkouts, and I'm like, what is happening?
Across
My Starbucks
the country,
is doing fine, but
yeah, they've been organizing like union Starbucks. They like got one through, and they're trying to get more through, like just unionizing all Starbuckses. I don't know. That's kind of just my extent of knowledge to it. Like it went through like at some Starbucks somewhere. Like I don't know if it's just individual franchise. I don't know how any of that works, but so yeah, they're just a lot of Starbuckses and their employees are trying to unionize. That's what I know the most of it. But yeah, it was funny. Like, but when I listened to like what you were telling me about that story with like Frosty and the other guy, like it's kind of like, okay, I'm trying to think. So you're like, if you're an agency that's like, all right, we're gonna take a percentage of your earnings for your streaming and we're gonna promote you and you're gonna gain a following. Like, that's the transaction, I'm guessing, of why they're in business together, of their contract.
Yeah.
So yeah, Frosty's who's the other guy? Who's the owner? Nadeshot. So if he's like saying, okay, here's the contract, we take 10% of your earnings, whether that be from the chat subscribers, like super chats or whatever, Patreon, whatever, we take a percentage of that. It's like, yeah, it was pretty much spelled out. It's none of your business what like the house that we live in or whatever, or like how much money we make. That's a company. Like you're not the only one earning money for us. And maybe those terms are shitty. Maybe they are. It's like, hey, this guy's taking like 50% of my revenue, and I don't think I'm getting enough back on my end promotion wise. I don't think his service is valuable enough to what I'm providing. And then in that case, yeah, but you sign the contract. Like then when the contract's up, like this is why, like what, like, you know what I mean? It's like if we were ever to sign our podcast to like a network, do you want to know how, like, what a big decision that would be, because you're giving up the independence, like you're not really independent anymore, like so I don't know. It's like, yeah, I think that guy, from what you tell me, that Frosty sounds like he's milking it.
Yeah. And from what I know too, it's like, listen, if you made like, if I'm ever signing a contract at any point in my life, whether it's for, like an employee, like I'll even say, like when I've gotten hired, right, for a new job, and they give me something like an employee I read that, right? Like, I want to know,
Sure.
like, hey, if I show up and I haven't combed my hair in the right direction, are you going to fire me? Right? Now, normally
Sure.
it's like, don't show up to work drunk, don't show up to work high. I'm like, okay, I can handle that. Right? But like, if I were to get a contract that's like pages, right? And we're talking, it's going into details about how much money they're taking out. I'm like, dude, I'm hiring a lawyer. Get me a lawyer. I want somebody who I'm going to pay, who's on my side to make this the best deal for me. Now, that's easy for me to say. I'm also 30. I've also heard people saying, like, oh, Nadeshot took advantage. I don't know how old Frosty is. I don't think he's that young, but he's also not that old. He might be in his like mid or lower 20s. I'm not really sure. But at the end of the day, like, if Nadeshot took advantage of the fact that he was young, that sucks. It happens, and it's a learning experience, right? So now Frosty knows when his his contract is up, and if he wants to renegotiate, he's going to renegotiate. And now he knows, like, dude, I'm going to get somebody. I'm going to hire somebody. I'm going to hire Lord. He's going to read through this with me. I know what I want. I know what I don't want, and he'll either stay or he'll leave and go to a different company or just be a solo streamer or whatever. So, no, it's not
And you
like
can bet every step of the way he's going to be live streaming it, giving you updates, like reading through the contract on stream. Like, he's going to do all that for publicity. But
so this is like one of, like, and I get it, right? And I go both ways. I watch YouTube videos about it all the time on both sides, right? It's like, Ben Shapiro had a bit. I don't know, he's not a comedian, but like, he had somebody ask a question. It was like the pencil factory. I don't know if you've heard this one, right? And it was a guy asking, if I work at a pencil factory and I put the pencil together, right? Like, do the stuff with the graphite, put the metal on the top, do the rubber, and you own the pencil factory. You're the CEO of should you be making all of this money when I do all the work? And it's like, okay, I totally understand that thought process. Makes complete sense. I think for most people, it's like, dude, you're literally putting the pencil together. Like, you're doing all the work.
Well, that's a very reductive.
Of course. But that's kind of the point of it too, right? It's very simplistic.
Right.
It's very like, okay, so we've got one side, this guy saying like, listen, this guy owns the pencil factory. I literally put all the pencils together. I create the product. I literally do everything. Right. But then you have the owner who pays the rent, who is paying you money. He's paying for your health insurance and all that stuff. He's taking all of the risk and he's buying all of the product so that you have the graphite, so you have the metal and the rubber for the eraser and stuff. So if for some reason the business goes under because all of a sudden pencils go out of bit, aren't needed or whatever, you lose your job, but he loses like everything basically, right?
Sure.
Like, he has all of the risk on him kind of thing. You can go get another job. And also it comes down to like, how hard is your job? If you don't want to put that pencil together, how hard is it for him to find somebody else to put that pencil together? So it's like,
of course.
I understand both sides, but with this specific instance with Frosty and Nadeshot, for me, it's definitely like, I'm a little bit more on the side of Nadeshot because it's just like, Frosty agreed to these terms. I don't know how long the contract is. I hope he wasn't stupid and signed some huge long contract, but he's going to get past this. He agreed to it. From what Nadeshot has provided, it seems he hasn't done anything shady. It's just Frosty all of a sudden complaining either for clout and recognition to get bigger, or because now he just feels like whining. So
sure, it's the name of the game, man. It's how it works. But yeah, so speaking of legal matters, I had a transition. So I just needed to bring this up. This is a smaller thing.
Okay.
But I just had you watch before we got on. I had you watch the new trailer for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, the new movie coming out. So let me give you a little bit of background on this. This trailer just dropped today for this new horror slasher movie called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. That's
a
right,
hard
folks.
pass. Hard pass for me.
Winnie the Pooh horror slasher movie. So live action. So this was announced a few months ago, this movie. And I was just utterly fascinated by it immediately. And today the trailer dropped, and there was immediately this whole conversation when this was announced, like, yay, they're making a Winnie the Pooh horror movie. Immediately my mind goes to, how the fuck is Disney letting that happen? This is not a
Yeah.
Disney movie. This is some low tier level garage backyard making studio that's making this. So I looked into it. As of January 2022, Winnie the Pooh has entered the public domain.
Meaning
And
anybody can do anything with it?
anyone can use the property.
Wow.
So apparently January of this year, and I don't know if this is every year, but usually in January, public works or works that, you know, their patents go too far on or whatever, I don't know, past the creator's life, copyright law, a bunch of stuff gets put into the public domain. Music, IP, tons of stuff. Winnie the Pooh got put into the public domain this year. And which I don't even know how that worked. Like, I don't know if Disney owns the rights to like classic fairy tale stories that they've made movies about, like Snow White, Cinderella. Do they own the rights to that IP? I don't know. But I always thought at least Winnie the Pooh, right? Like, it started as a book. I'm sure they scooped up the rights, but maybe they lost the. I mean, Disney is notoriously shitty about, like, they will change laws to make sure that they can hold on to copyright. Like, copyright things. Like, apparently I read that Winnie the Pooh is in the public domain, but I guess somehow Disney still has the rights to Tigger. So they can't use the Tigger character, which I think, saying that word, you have to be very careful saying that word, Tigger. But so they so I just said it out loud and I was like, but so I think Tigger is not in the public domain because I think Disney made a movie, the Tigger movie a few years ago, like when I was a kid. I can't stop laughing. I can't keep saying.
Trying so hard.
I can't keep saying Tigger.
Okay, keep going.
Anyway, so I was fascinated by this. I was like, oh, but I love the idea, Josh, of that some sleazy, cheap horror movie studio out there read that Winnie the Pooh was going to be in the public domain in January, and they sprinted at the chance. They were like, we got to take this. We got to make this into a horror movie, make it into a slasher. It's the IP. So apparently this movie was filmed, allegedly, this movie, they shot it in 10 days. And like, it looks like it was made for like $6. It doesn't look great.
Oh, no, it does not. I'm so like, and who wants this? Like,
Well,
nobody wants this.
I do. It
No,
sounds
you don't.
fun.
No, you don't.
But it looks so stupid because I was upset when I saw the trailer immediately because apparently it's only Pooh and Piglet are going to be doing the torturing to Christopher Robin. They abandoned him. And now, like, I love that. Like, I love that altering story. Like, it's fun. But yeah, it just immediately I was like, wait a minute. Is this supposed to be like the real Winnie the Pooh and the real Piglet? Or are these just like guys in masks? Like,
no, that's because that's what it looks like. Yeah.
It's stupid. Like, I want them to be real, like Winnie the Pooh. I guess that's the implication. But because it's such a cheap movie, they literally just got guys in masks, and they doesn't really like. I can't wait to see it because it looks so cheap and bad. But it was a fascinating story to me of how that movie got made, and I just had to bring it up. That was my little tidbit.
Does it have a release date or no?
I don't think so yet, but
okay.
I love the idea of like soulless Hollywood, like just some sleazy C-level studio being like, and I looked up what they've produced. They've all their movie posters look the same. It's just these awful looking $10 like dollar store horror movies. But now they have Winnie the Pooh. So it's getting all this like buzz online. So it was just fascinating, the story to me, to learn that that's now in the public domain. We should make a Winnie the Pooh movie. I'll do it. But so anyway, I just had to bring that up.
Okay.
Only other thing I had to say about movie stuff, just wanted to quickly mention this. Saw Sonic 2 on Paramount Plus.
So you gave it a 2.
Wasn't bad. It wasn't the worst thing I ever saw.
Okay.
Way too long. Idris Elba as Knuckles, very jarring. weird. He
Huh.
sounded like Darth Vader. Everyone was so. This is again with like the celebrity worship. Everyone was like, "Ooh, Idris Elba's gonna be Knuckles. Let's cut it out." This guy sounds weird as this red fur ball, like, and he sounds like this smoky, attractive black man, and he's like Knuckles. And I'm like, can we stop? This is creepy. Like, Idris Elba is a beautiful man, beautiful voice. That should not be a cartoon hedgehog. Like, God, I can't. I was like, I was so distracting the entire movie. I'm like, Knuckles sounds very weird. Like, but anyway, so I had to. That was like my one observation I had to bring up.
Gotcha.
Funny story. Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Oh no.
DUI charge. DUI, baby. Let's go. Did you hear about that at all?
How much does he have to pay to just get out of it, right?
He's getting 5 days.
Is he actually?
He's getting 5 days.
5 days. How bad? Like, did it say percentage? Like, how bad was it?
I didn't look into it, but I know he just got 5 days. And it's funny because it's like how people are even like, you're the Speaker of the House. His husband, how did you even have to do 5 days? And like, because Nancy Pelosi, like, we all know, like, red, blue, like, she is the demon, like, she's the devil, like, she is the most corrupt politician, like, in
she probably
America.
Like told them like, oh, I don't want him for the next 5 days, so just leave him there. Like,
well, there was all those stories about her and her husband, specifically about her and her husband, about insider trading. Like, they've literally gone to Congress with bills, like because Congress people should not be able to have stocks, or they should not be able to do insider trading. And Nancy Pelosi shot it right the fuck down and was like, no, because they publicly have made tons of money from insider trading. So, and her husband has. That's how like the disconnect is. I'm just picturing them though, like I'm just picturing them at like dinner after he got the DUI charge, and he's like, really? Do I have to go away for like 5 days? 5 days? And she's like sitting there just giving him a look, and she's like, listen, between me and you, we have about 30 life sentences worth of felonies. True. You got to take the fall for 5 days, buddy. Like, you got to get this cannot get any. I mean, it's just, I guess it just goes to show like how much, if you have any faith, if you're out there and you have any faith left in America or in our system, you're just not even living in reality anymore, man. You know, it's like they can just do, you know, that, and it may be good to think back to like that last scene of The Boys, of like where Homelander like killed that supporter right in front of everyone, and they all just cheered. It's like, yeah, it's like they could tell us tomorrow that they did 9/11 and no one would give a shit. Like, that's where we are at this fucking country. They're like, yeah, UFOs exist. Yeah, we've the Secret Service. Yeah, Trump is stealing documents. Yeah, it's like, and no one even gives a shit anymore, because we're like, yeah, it's over. It's over. Like, no one's even paying attention.
It's sad.
But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so I think that pretty much covers anything. I don't know. And Biden is giving everyone student loan forgiveness. Like, I guess someone like put a fire under his ass, and like, I don't know, it made
listen,
the
midterms or the elections are coming up or whatever.
True.
I mean, all I'll say is I'm very happy for my friends who still had student loans. I mean, we could talk about this forever, right? Like, sure, I've got some friends who were put in very bad situations, and I'm happy for them. I have other friends who deliberately did not pay their loans when they could have, because they were waiting for something like this to happen. And that's kind of like, I don't know. It's frustrating. I've already paid off my loans. Is it fair that I don't get any of that back? Whatever. I mean, it is what it is. You could go back and forth. What's fair? What's not fair? At the end of the day, the only strong opinion I have is nothing is free. We've learned this with COVID. We learned this with our stimulus checks. We got free money, and here we are with the worst inflation in a long time. So nothing's free. It's going to get paid for some way or another. But it is what it is. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult than people think. I think a lot of people thought like magically they're like thing. You have to like apply now. I think you have to like go to a website, like fill out.
I even have people at my job, like I have to fill out stuff for people.
Oh, you have to fill out stuff for people.
For like employment, I don't know if it's related to the Biden thing, but I've gotten like at least 2 people like being like, "Hey,
Oh, well,
here's
it
these
might be
things."
because they can't make more than $125,000, right? Like, so that's probably part of it, right? Like, you got to
Sure,
get
it
your
could be.
work. Yeah. So I mean, I understand why people are excited, and I'm excited that some people are being helped out by this, but I still feel like I said, there's no free lunches. There's just no free meals. There's no free money. So people that just think like, oh, this is just great. It's like, well, we're going to feel the repercussions somehow, one way or the other. I don't know necessarily how. I don't know if it's just going to be more inflation or whatever, but we'll find out. But
Sure.
happy for the few, for enemies more than a few, because there's a lot of people. But like we talked about before, this doesn't. What happens tomorrow when another little Johnny takes out a bunch of money for college? It doesn't fix the problem, which is
Of
college
course.
is ridiculous. We still allow people to take out these loans. We need to like either educate people more to realize what they're doing, because we're allowing these young kids to take out way more loans than they ever really understand how they're going to pay them back. Or else we're just going to be back in the same boat. And so that's why it just feels like a move to me. It's just Biden trying to get more,
Virtue
people
sick
better.
like
Yeah, it's
well, I
better
mean, I shouldn't say
publicity
that.
and
It's
yeah,
something. I mean, yeah,
just
that's the
for
thing.
poll
It's
better, whatever. I don't know.
sure. Yeah. It's yeah, it's weird. It's like, it's something. It's like you said, it's like either transform the system, like these one-time little like pick of the raffle, whoever still has student loans, you're getting 10 grand. Like you just happen to fall into that right place, right time. Like it's just
Yep.
again, like cool, it's something, but it's like, it's never gonna fix the actual problem, like you said. So yeah, I don't know. But anyway, let's go into some questions.
Yeah, wait, I wanted to just mention one thing real quick. I wanted to
Sure.
see because I've been watching a show. I found a new show that
Oh, okay.
I've been binging. It's bad. I've been watching way too much. Have you heard of Suits? It's on Amazon.
No, I haven't heard of Suits.
Okay,
Maybe.
I was literally,
Tell me
I don't
about
know.
it.
I think it started back in like 2011. It's not like let me like limit expectations of you and any listeners out there, right? It's not like a new Breaking Bad. It's not going to like blow your
Sure.
mind. It's just about a bunch of like lawyers basically in New York City. And dude, I'll tell you what, watching the show, I mean, number one, it makes you want to be a lawyer, but more than that, it just makes me want to walk around New York City with just like a $3,000 suit on
Oh,
and
of
just like
course.
walk around like I own the place and I'm just like the hottest thing. And it's just like, oh, it makes me want to live in New York City and just like live like, and so I guess I'd kind of describe it as like a drama, I guess, right? I mean, it's lawyers and it's
Sure.
there's some love interest and stuff. So it's not anything mind-blowing. But there's some cool characters in it, and there's this. I don't want to spoil anything just in case anybody is watching it or if you ever watch it or whatever. But what I do like, what I'm realizing for me, and I'm gonna give the credit to Game of Thrones, is I realize a lot about what I like about shows isn't normally like the plot, right? It's the characters.
Of
And there's
course.
this one character in this show that just has me on a roller coaster. And I love it. And it's just like I've gone from like, okay, he's fine, he's whatever, to I feel so bad for this guy. I love this guy. I want the best for this guy, to this guy's the scum of the earth. And I want nothing to do with like I've never, but like it just reminds me, it makes me feel a little bit like Jamie when I was watching Game of
Yep.
Thrones. And it was
Sure.
like you're just kind of on that roller coaster with like, oh, Jamie's great, like he's getting past Cersei, and then it's just like, okay, never mind. Like, and it's just kind of like that roller coaster. And this guy is taking me on that roller coaster, and I'm really enjoying it. I think I started like less than 2 weeks ago, and I'm in the 4th season already. And I've just been coming home from work and just binging the show on Amazon.
Do you know how many
And
seasons there are?
I think there's like 9
Ooh.
Suits seasons. What's the easiest way to see this? Started in 2011 and went to 2019. So
Interesting.
Yep, there's 9 seasons. So yeah, just throwing it out there. If you're ever in the mood, watch a trailer for it. Yeah, it's definitely not like it's not something I can just broadly say like, oh, go check it out. Everybody will love it. You might get into it, you might not, but it's been one that I've been enjoying lately for sure. So
yeah, that's a pretty good cosign. You're not someone that watches everything, so if something catches your eye.
It's true. I also have a particular taste, and also am bitter and don't like watching what everybody else is watching. So when everybody goes, "Tell me what's the new Marvel movie," I go, "No, shut up."
Of course.
But I inevitably watch it later. So yeah.
Nice. So yeah, we can go into some questions. I have a few.
Cool.
I have 3 specifically. So we'll start with this one. This is from our buddy Rich over at the Horror Script podcast. Shout out to Rich. Thank you for the question. His question is, this is in regards to House of Dragon.
Oh,
What's up with Maiasur's voice in House of the Dragon? Was she hooked on phonics? This is it's Damon's girlfriend, I think.
like the horror basically, right? That he
Yeah,
was
he
staying with
said,
on.
"What's up with her voice? Was she hooked on phonics?" I don't.
Dude, she had like 3 lines.
What was up with her
I
voice?
mean,
I don't know.
she
Now I
had
feel
an
bad.
accent. Like she was supposed to be like a foreign whore, I think, and she had like a weird accent, if I remember right. I didn't think. What is hooked on phonics? I don't.
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
what that
Rich might have
sounds
been
like.
drinking when he sent this. Just kidding. But I was but yeah, I was like, oh, I was gonna message him and ask. I was like, I don't remember. What was up with her voice? Was it weird? But I mean, she
I
was the
could be
only.
wrong, but from what I remember, she had if she didn't have an accent, then I will agree with whatever he's saying, because I'm 90% sure she had an accent. She was supposed to be some like foreign person,
Sure.
but maybe it was just the way she was speaking. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. Sorry, Rich.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Rich. Yeah, by the way, if you guys want to ask us any questions, I usually try to put up a question story on our Instagram every week, Next Round on Me Pod. If you want it, like, I know there's a character limit that's very short. Feel free to just DM us any questions you want at any point, or email us. The email, our link tree, all of our information's there. You know how to get it. But yeah, write in any questions at any point, because I know the actual question, ask me a question thing on Instagram, there's only a certain amount of characters you can put. So it's very short. So anyway, next question is from Jason. Shout out to Jason. If you could go back in any time era, which one would it be? For me, it would be the 1920s.
Is that what Jason said, or is that what you're saying?
That's what Jason said.
That's what Jason. Okay, so well, let me ask you, Dan. When you think of the 1920s, what do you think of?
The Roaring 20s?
Oh yeah, what was the Roaring 20s? What's so roaring about it?
I'm not good with history.
Me either, dude. That's why I'm asking you.
I don't know, Jason. Why would you want to? Jason, like, I want to go to the 20s. Yeah, I don't know. But like, there's also, okay, of course, with any of these scenario questions, your mind immediately starts asking questions. Like, okay, am I existing in that time period? Like, or do I just get to time travel and I have all my current technology and I'm like a fly on the wall and get to be like, look at me, I'm a god. I come from the future. I have a vape. Like, or do I,
out of all the things, you're going to show off your vape.
The first thing I'm holding in my hand. But like, or am I going to be a person in that time period? No, I think
that's the way you have to answer the question. You're not coming out with your vape as a god. You are going into that time period to live like a normal person. Now, I have an answer, but it's a bad answer.
Okay.
Because, like, let's think about it. At the end of the day, I don't want to go back into I want to go to the future, right? Like, I want to go into the metaverse, right? So, do I want to go back and have to deal with smallpox and all the stuff we've eradicated and be on a horse and a wagon? No, I'm sure there's simplicity to that, and I'd love to spend maybe a day right? Like go on vacation and do that, right? Like what was that? Westworld? I've got to watch that again, right? I haven't. Is that done or are they still making that? Not to get sidetracked here.
They're still making it, holding on by a thread.
Oh, is it
Lost
not
a lot
good
of its
anymore?
audience.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I don't. I got to get back on it. It was one of my favorite shows.
Me too.
Anyway,
Me too.
keep
Okay.
going.
So my easy short answer is I just don't think I would want to. If I had to,
you had to.
And here's right. I'm a nerd. I'm a video game nerd, right? So BioShock it takes place in the past, and I think is it right after or before? I think it's supposed to be right before the Cold War. Which, oh my god, dude, I'm showing that I'm so dumb. When was the Cold War? I want to say it was the 40s, 1947. Okay. So that was the Cold War. So basically, the story of BioShock is Andrew Ryan was living in Russia or whatever, or living somewhere, and was trying to escape. Because he thought the world was just going to go absolutely bonkers, right? Because in real life, everybody before the Cold War, like that was right. It's like everybody's just holding a nuclear warhead going, we're going to blow you up. No, we're going to blow you up, right? So he's like, I'm going to make an underwater utopia. I'm going to call it Rapture. And so that happened in the 1940s. So when you're playing the game, you're in the 1940s. And I mean, I mean, a lot of it's just because I love that game and you're in this underwater city, but I like the music that they played, the way that they dressed, the way they were all kind of like the fancy. So it's just like that's my scapegoat answer is I would go back to like the 40s, find Andrew Ryan and my fictional world and live in BioShock and Rapture. That's what I would do. So.
Okay. That's a good answer. I had to think about this because I'm the same way. I'm like, I mean, and we're white. Like we have the ability where we can go back and be like, oh, we're fine. Like, but
that's true.
And we're white males. Like we can go anywhere. At any point.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I feel like I probably wouldn't go back too far. I would either want to go to the 80s or the 70s, probably, just to see what all that was about. Maybe like the 80s, like. Maybe like the 70s. I don't know. 70s Miami. See what all the cocaine was really like. But like,
oh my gosh,
like it's always like I always get so annoyed where it's everyone will talk about like the 80s were the best, the 70s were the best, and when you see it represented in TV and movies, it looks like it was just a fucking party 24/7.
Yeah,
and it was like it was like a lawless time, which I'm sure that's a little bit. There's truth to that for sure, but it's like. There's also a lot of dark sides to that too that you hear about. Like, so it's like, don't act like, you're still like, not everyone's just out there doing blow off of strippers' asses in clubs, like as they like paint every image of the 70s and 80s. But it'd be cool to see like some of the pop culture, like in the 80s, like when it came out, go to the premiere of Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
77.
See, that's like, the one thing I do want is like we need to at least be able to take the knowledge, right? So it's like you can go and watch Star Wars knowing how great of a movie that's going to be, right? Like before, like that would be interesting. Then it's kind of like Back to the Future though, and then you can start like betting on stuff, like betting on Super Bowl winners and
I know immediately I pictured myself
and all that. So
I pictured myself standing online for the premiere of Star Wars in 77. And the first thing, not about like, I get to experience the movie at the premiere. First thing that pops in my head is, I bet I can just go to some nerd and be like, dude, I'll bet you $1,000 that in the next movie, Darth Vader is going to be revealed to be his father. Like, just start scamming people. Like, I just start like being like, I bet you that's their plan. It's going to be his father. But, yeah. Anyway, so that was good question, Jason. Thank you. Last one comes from Chris Leon, who I believe is a friend of Gene. I'm not sure. Thank you, Chris, for the question. This is a doozy. So he gives us a little bit of a hot take in his mind. He says, Breaking Bad is better than Game of Thrones.
That's not as hot as a take as I thought.
No, it's not. That's not a hot take. That's not.
I don't even want. I just want to call that an opinion. I just want to call that an opinion. I don't want to call it right or wrong yet. I want to talk through this. Okay. Well, let's see. Breaking Bad was what? 5 seasons? 6 seasons?
6, I think.
6? I think 6.
Sure, let's go with that.
And Game of Thrones was 8. As far as episodes wise, I mean, yeah, I mean, they're probably not that far apart because I think Breaking Bad was 10 or 12 and Game of Thrones was 10, but the last season was only 6. So we're really talking differences of genre, clearly.
Well,
One's
and
more. I
it
understand they're different
depends.
time periods. You could technically call like Breaking Bad's just a straight up like. I mean, that's a drama,
Drama,
right?
thriller,
Yeah,
like, but also, I mean, biggest difference is like scope. Like Game of Thrones
100%.
is, anyway. But I have an
So,
answer for this.
okay. So I'm going to work my way through it, and then I'm going to hand it over to
Okay.
you. And I can't figure it out anymore because I love Breaking Bad, and I think it's a great, amazing show. I honestly, at this point, would probably recommend it more because number one, for me as an adult at this point, too, it's shorter. It's like we just talked about Suits. That's 9 seasons. How I Met Your
Sure.
Mother, which is one of my favorite sitcoms, that's 11. Game of Thrones is 8. Dude, lots of when I ask the question, how many seasons? I'm hoping for a short answer. I don't want you like Ozark, right? What is Ozark? 3, 4? Like that's a positive thing in my head.
Mhm.
Like it's not a lot. So I like Breaking Bad in that sense, but I still
So
Breaking
you're so
Bad
right.
Breaking Bad just didn't have as many moments as Game of Thrones did for me. Game of Thrones had just some moments that shook me to my core where I was like, dude, I gotta go talk about this. Now, I don't want any Breaking Bad fan like Breaking Bad still has moments, dude. Like when
I'm the one who
Walter
knocks. Are you fucking me?
I
Like
listen, dude,
I'm
I
here, like
understand.
trying to cancel
That
you.
that
Like,
I know, and when even just like when Walter lets Jesse's girlfriend like die in the bed,
oh,
dude, right? Like that's a huge moment. Yeah, I'm the one that knocks. I'm trying to just think of so many others. I mean, there are some good moments, and they're great moments, but they just didn't quite hit me like Ned dying or the Red Wedding
okay.
and they just were but like dude, like that's not a hot take for me at all. Like if you want to tell me Breaking Bad is better than Game of Thrones, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. um I think if I had to place myself somewhere on the map, I would say I ever so slightly disagree, and I think that's about all I could say. And obviously, explain what I just explained, but that's I mean, I'm not mad about that at all. I'm
There's
more mad
right.
about boneless wings people saying they're better than bone. Like that's you're wrong. Like that's a fun that's me. I'm really interested to see what your opinion is on this.
So yeah, because where you were coming from is, which I struggle with a lot too. Sometimes it's well, if you're comparing these two things, what is your metric for, what I mean? What makes them better? Like, is it, because you could say like they're going for two totally different things, two totally different shows. And there was someone, I don't know if it was a critic or someone, the people, I don't think this is just one, but there's this belief in people that do like film criticism, which I actually really appreciate this philosophy. I don't always like go by it, but they say, well, if you're trying to compare, is this better than this? Like, and they're just two totally separate things, right? How do you say like which one is better? Like, what is the metric you're using? And what I've heard people say that I think is very smart is, did the creator of this movie or the people behind this movie, did they achieve what they set out to make? So like, who did the better job of achieving what they were trying to do? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like who had the least amount of issues, like with the story, or how many, I really like that idea. Because like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad, they're two completely different things. It's like Game of Thrones is revolutionary with TV and how special effects and
Yeah.
scope and making it like a movie into a huge television show, and did so many things. And of course there's issues and like you said, in your head, there's more memorable moments for you. And of course, there's all this shit subjective as hell, right? But
Yeah.
But you can say that Game of Thrones, as much as I am a defender of Game of Thrones ending, I am like number one, like stop saying it is as bad as it is, because I don't think it was as bad as it is. But I still agree with the issues. It did not stick the landing. Breaking Bad stuck their landing.
It did.
And
it did.
They stuck their landing, and I've thought about this. I was like, what parts of Breaking Bad do I not like? Is there any elements that I thought were just off or odd? And the only little nitpick I ever had with Breaking Bad was, and I still to this day, I'm going through Better Call Saul right now, which again, amazing fucking show. My God, it's an amazing fucking show. I'm almost done with it. But the only issue with Breaking Bad was the two Salamanca twins, the two bald Latino guys in the suits. Yeah. I always had a little bit of an issue with them. Little bit. They were a little too cartoony. Little too pushing the line a little bit. Like they just stood there, like they never spoke. They just were always in suits, and they were just badasses, and they just never spoke to each other, and they always just like, for me, breaking that plot point with those two twins was a little too cartoony for me. They're a little too much. Like, that's the only nitpick I have with Breaking Bad. But sure, with Game of Thrones, that whole last season debacle, it should have been, as I thought it was fine. I still think, you shoved it all into way too much. But so I'm obviously going with Breaking Bad, but then again, I'm of the opinion Breaking Bad is my favorite show of all time. Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, I'm almost done with it. El Camino, like the whole Breaking Bad sphere is, I think, like my favorite of all time, like even above Sopranos. I mean, so
and I think Bryan Cranston as Walter White, like, I mean, if you were to tell me like, one of the best like TV show portrayals, like I think I don't think Breaking Bad is Breaking Bad without Bryan Cranston. Like I mean, that moment, oh my gosh, I mean, you could watch that on YouTube all the time. I am the one who knocks. Like, holy,
it's just like such I admire so much that it's such like, I think they kind of pulled from The Sopranos a little bit. They're very different shows, but they always had Breaking Bad always had influences from Sopranos, where it was like, it's about this guy who's descending into like, his innocence is dying. He's becoming, more sucked into this world of meth. But, it kind of really is more of a show about family, the dynamics between an American family. It's very contemporary. It feels like, these issues in America where it's like Walt is this working class guy that had no other options. And like, he felt like he was not validated by his peers. And he, like, something that a lot of people feel like, it's like you work your ass off in the country, you get nothing, but then you get a taste of this other life. And it's like, and that comes to the whole thing. Like, I am the one who knocks. Like, you think I'm the weak one, but so doing this drug dealing thing where he's very good at, I just love, and that's how it affects the social dynamics of his family and everything. And it's just, such a good exploration of like just human dynamics and the family dynamics. Like, all the characters are so deep and great. Like, someone like Jesse Pinkman. I know someone like Hank, like Uncle Hank, the DEA agent. Like, people like him. It's so like even like, moms. Like, I see a little bit of my mom in Skylar. Like, you see your own parents in them to an extent. Like, it's just, but yeah. So I could go on forever about that show, but
it's a good one.
Yeah. So thank you so much for the question.
That was a good one.
Chris.
I like that one.
Yeah, give us more of your hot takes. I need more hot takes. I want to.
Oh, we like the hot takes. Okay. Well, to be fair, I don't think that was a hot take, but that was, I mean,
no,
it was a take, but it brought up some good questions for sure.
Yeah. So, man, folks. Well, I just hope everyone stays all right out there. Everyone start collecting your water. Start sending in your crypto and exchanging them for gold bricks. We can only imagine the kind of hell that's going to come if we make it to the next generation. If we even make it we don't have to even like, you know, the horror that comes out of the child stars that we grew up with on Nickelodeon. Imagine what the child streamers and TikTokers of this generation are going to be. I mean, they are going to be like setting off nukes in Congress for clicks in the future. So, but anyway, Josh, I think we've done good work. We'll wrap it up. Do you have
Think
any
so?
last
End
words?
of episode number 44 here. If you made it this far, thanks for being this far. Thanks for being here with us. If you made it this far, what I want you to do is I want you to either send a message on Instagram or just post a comment. And all I want you to do is say boneless or boned in. That's it. Just make that comment, and then I'll know you made it this far. And I want to know everybody's opinion and vote. Either boneless or boned in. That's all I got.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So follow. I gotta fucking do this in the beginning. Follow us on our Patreon. The post is going to be up. The first episode, like I said, you can get at the end. We're going to be reading off names of everyone who is a sponsor, I guess, a producer of the show, you could say. And follow us on Instagram. Next Round on Me Pod, Twitch. Next Round on Me, our link tree, everything's there. And Patreon, baby. So if you want to have Josh watch Two Girls, One Cup, we got to get to 300. So,
or an OnlyFans.
Or an OnlyFans. All right, folks. Stay well out there, and welcome to fall. Bye, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
And stop recording. Oh, shit. Okay.
I'm good.
All right, and we